Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to this beautiful day we're having, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Central Oregon. My name is Jeff Belzer, and I will be the wearer of many hats today. But welcome, no matter who you are, no matter what experiences have brought you to this place today. Welcome. You're welcome here. The opening words for this morning are from Brené Brown. Spirituality is recognizing and celebrating that we are all inextricably connected to each other by a power greater than all of us, and that our connection to that power and to one another is grounded in love and compassion. We'll now have the opening song by our choir. Join me now in the lighting of the chalice. We light this chalice to find inner peace, love for each other, and faith in ourselves. Also to be welcoming to whoever we meet and kind to all living creatures. All right, so join me in the time for all ages, and I hope there are some young kiddos out there in the world of Zoom. And you know what? I actually have a secret for you. Do you guys want to hear a secret? So back in the day, we're talking way back, I was just a child. My mom was baking cookies, and the cookies smelled so good. And she told me, well, she first put them in the cookie jar, because this is way back. We actually had these things called cookie jars. So they actually made pottery and made it into a jar just to store the cookies. I don't know why we did that, but we did that back then. And so she put them in the cookie jar, but said I couldn't have any until after dinner. Well, she was busy cooking and wasn't paying attention, so I snuck up and I opened the cookie jar, because it actually has a lid that you can take off, and reached in and I grabbed a couple cookies and I ran out of the kitchen and just chowed them down without my mom ever noticing. So Mom, I'm sorry. I know you're here today. I'm sorry that I kept that secret from you for almost now my entire life. I should have told you that right away. There's no reason I would have kept that secret from you. Because secrets should always be shared with safe people in your house, and there's no reason to keep a secret like that. Have any of you maybe done something that you're not proud of? You're welcome to share it if you want. This is a space of no judgment. At least I won't be judging you, but feel free if you want to share a secret, you're welcome to. I think we've all done things that we're not proud of. We've all had experiences that we maybe don't like to talk about. So let me ask, does anyone here also, and in Zoom, you might know someone that's a bit disruptive? Someone who maybe acts unkindly, a bully. We've all had experiences with people like that, and they can be really difficult to deal with, right? And if you're that person, that's okay too. I think I actually remember picking on a kid when I was a kid, and those things happen. But let's also consider how we all might have those experiences in our past that we may not want to talk about, and those things that we maybe feel bad about, or things that have happened to us that we feel bad about. Some might be minor, like me stealing the cookies. It's not that big of a deal. But some might be a little more serious, and some might be deep and dark or traumatic. Some of those experiences might actually help create the person that we are today. And I'd be willing to bet that most of those bullies out there probably have secrets or experiences that they don't want to talk about, that they're not going to share with you. Now, no one has to tolerate the cruel actions of a bully, but I also believe that if we treat a bully with compassion and love, while at the same time making them be accountable for their behavior, instead of reacting with anger and more hate that drives more anger, but instead with compassion and love, we could find a way to connect with them and find some commonalities. And even if we aren't able to do that, at least we're putting love and compassion into the world instead of hate and anger. Join me in the Children's Covenant, which I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be saying that. I don't have it memorized. In this place, I am loving. In this place, I am a friend to all animals and people. In this place, I am loved. Thank you all for that.
Yeah, Jeff, they'll do it for you if you don't know it. It's amazing. I say that every week, and every once in a while, I just go blank, and I know that you all will be right there to fill it in. Good morning, I'm Reverend Scott Rudolph, and I am the minister here, fortunate enough and honored and lucky and grateful every single day of my life for that. And one of the cool things about being the minister is that I have this great perspective on all the stuff that happens in the fellowship, be it attending a social justice steering team meeting last week and hearing about all the great social justice work this fellowship does, from working with homelessness to justice events to creating a relationship with Warm Springs tribe, all this great work and Fireflies and tutoring, the great work that we do in our justice, that our RE program is now opening again after almost 2 years. We get to welcome our children back in our building for Sunday mornings and continue to have online options for those who can't be with us here in person. When I see our staff running around during the week, looking at the different ways that they might serve the congregation, but also more than that, looking at the ways they might connect the congregation to serve the congregation, which is the majority of their work. And we know that our financial contributions to this congregation come from our sacrifice and our hard work, and they all support this, and we are always grateful for the commitment that people offer this congregation, and we always take that very seriously in how we consider those resources. And so this morning I'll invite our ushers forward as we take our offering to sustain and grow the life of this church, which feeds us, which feeds our community, and feeds ourselves, hopefully in our listening situations, in ways that we have yet to even dream of, but know in our hearts we'll be able to fulfill. We are grateful this morning for you and for all gifts, both energy and resources shared. This congregation shares life together, the very days of our lives, and into those days come joys and come sorrows, come moments that fill our heart with gratitude, and moments that fill our heart with grief. And we create space together with one another to hold these moments. If there's a joy or a sorrow in your own life that you'd like to light a candle for during this time of sharing, we invite you to do that. They're located on the sides of our sanctuary. In the span of a week, a lot happens in our world and in our country. Things like Supreme Court justices retire, making folks wonder what might come next. We celebrate a Holocaust Memorial Day so that we might remember atrocities visited upon the people of this world, so that we might never forget to have them come again. And yet during that same week, we see books, graphic novels being banned that speak to the horrors of the Holocaust, with the graphic novel Mouse being banned in Tennessee. We know that people are fleeing from violence across our globe. We know that there are tensions mounting in Ukraine, that people are readying themselves for the Olympics on February 4th, whatever that means to us as a global community. Coronavirus continues. People get sick, people get better, people get sick, and people die. Amongst all this, we have the joys and the sorrows of our own lives. And so I'll read aloud the joys and sorrows shared here this morning. These forms are located in the front of the gathering hall as you come in, both on the kiosk and on a music stand out there, if there's ever a joy or a sorrow in your life that you'd like to share with this greater community. Well, Grace Kennedy and Max Merrill share a congratulations, as do I and as do we all, to Ken Wellham for his being honored by the Chamber of Commerce for his lifetime work with the United Way and for our greater community. I don't see Ken and Sue here. We'll assume they are off celebrating his good work. Oh, they're online? Hey, Ken, congratulations. Fantastic. Yeah, that is appropriate. A lifetime work award for Ken and his work with the United Way. We have two more non-competing but both joyous joys this morning. One is from Laura Vosnier. A joy of joys, grandson Logan was born this week. All are healthy, hearts and loves. Our hearts are bursting. So are ours, Laura, for you and with you. And Judy Hurlbert shares a great joy to meet my new grandson in person, finally, after his long stay in neonatal intensive care for 4 weeks. He joined Judy in Judy's grandmotherly arms this week, and it was a precious moment, I'm sure, for all of them. So for these joys and all those joys that exist in our hearts and all those sorrows that are there as well, we gather as a community. We hold this space and we hold one another with love on this very morning.
For the meditation today, I'm going to ask you to do something a little bit.
Forgot something. If there are folks K through 12 who would like to go to our religious exploration classes, now is the time to head out. Amy Brock is in our religious exploration space. It's Sophia Files. There goes Jazz. Anyone else that would like to join that group, head on out. How cool is that? The youth and children are going to the religious exploration classes. Like the first time in 11 months. Wait, 1 year and 11 months. That has just happened. Fantastic.
Thank you, Scott. So for our meditation, what I want you to do now is think of something that makes you angry and frustrated. And I know that could be pretty easy right now, but just hold on to that for right now. But as we do the meditation, take a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, and try and release that anger and let go of it. And just focus on your deep breathing.
Good morning. I'm Shauna Edwards, and I am honored to share today's reading with you all. In Bangkok, there is a golden statue of the Buddha that is worth almost $300 million. The statue was thought to be built in around 1403 and was revered by Buddhists for hundreds of years. Around 1757, the Burmese army was invading Thailand. Facing complete annihilation, the Buddhist monks at the monastery decided that they would hastily cover this golden Buddha up with layers of mud and plaster and grass and weeds and anything they could to make this look like it had little to no value. During the invasion, all of these monks were tragically murdered, but the golden Buddha was left undiscovered. In 1957, so a good 200 years later, an entire monastery in Thailand, where the Buddha was being relocated by a group of monks. One day they were moving this giant clay Buddha when one of the monks noticed that there was a crack in the seams, and through it, there was bright, lustrous gold shining. The monk used a hammer and a chisel and began to peel back the layers of this clay exterior, revealing that this entire Buddha was in fact solid gold. We'd like to remind you that this story so eloquently explains that inside each of us, there lives a golden Buddha of light.
So another back in the day story. Back in the day when I was at a party with my friends, one of my friends got into an argument, and I remember watching him smash someone's face with a pot. One time I had to bail my friend out of jail after he almost killed someone in a fight. And I will never forget the sounds of the bones breaking underneath my car as my friend drove squealing away from an altercation. See, back then, most of my friends were drug dealers, criminals. I was a drug dealer and a criminal. And although we had love for each other, we did not treat the world right. I remember fights, robberies, drive-by shootings, drug deals gone awry, horrible abuses to men and women. There was even a short time where I was dabbling in meth when I felt like all hope had been lost. Later on, I managed to still make some very poor decisions involving driving while intoxicated that gave me the privilege to spend 30 days in the Bend jail. During this stint in jail, I had a lot of time to think and to read. I even formed some unexpected strong bonds with other cellmates and learned a lot from their experiences. What impacted me most, though, was this book called Pure Heart, Enlightened Mind by Mara O'Halloran. I found it one day when the cart of books comes through and you get to kind of pick which books you want to read. And as soon as I found it, I knew I had to read it. See, Mara is an Irish-American woman who at only 24 years old traveled to Japan to study Buddhism under an inscrutably tough Zen master. She was the only white female ever to study in this monastery. The book is just a collection of her journal entries and letters that she wrote home describing her time in Japan. After finding this book, I read it meticulously and spent a lot of my days in jail practicing meditation for the first time in my life. I was able to find peace, to accept and acknowledge the mistakes of my past, and find a way to look forward, a way to connect the future me, the man I knew I wanted to be. Mara's story ended up in a really tragic way I struggled with. So after she achieved enlightenment studying Zen for 3 years, she was traveling back from Japan to Ireland on a journey to start her own Zen center. Making a few stops along the way back, she was tragically killed in a bus accident in Thailand at the age of 27. When I learned this at the end of the book, I thought, how could that be? The turmoil it caused me, I just could not understand. Here this woman achieved enlightenment and had all these goals and then just tragically passed away in such a random manner. Thinking about it, meditating on it, I realized that her gift to the world was the book that I was reading, and how privileged I was to be able to read this book during one of the worst periods, the lowest periods of my life. When I got out of jail, I had a changed perspective. I was deeply intentional and focused on improving, healing, unpacking my baggage from a sober perspective, and become deeply accountable to myself and my actions. I think hearing this, many of you might know me and have worked with me and have had experienced time with me. You would probably be shocked to find out that this is my past history, which is understandable. I do not share these experiences often. But those experiences shaped who I am, who I have become, and it feels good to let you know about some of my troubled past and to let that out. And for all of us, it feels good at times to be able to share your traumas and share your experiences and let that out. But that's not what this service is about. The reason I'm telling you these things is because I am nothing special or unique. We all have experiences. We all have these traumas that is part of the human experience. We've all made decisions we regret, had traumas caused to us, wounds that shaped us to be the humans that we are today. And we're all just these imperfect humans doing our best in this weird and miraculous world. The first principle as a Unitarian Universalist is the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We are here in this congregation because we are called to love. However, if you're like me, I think we find it very difficult to feel that inherent worth and love for the people that are on the other side. You know, the others, the Trumpers, the racists, and the intolerant. Those who seem to go against all of our core beliefs.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson. Time for civics class, the abbreviated version. Here's how democracies work. In a democracy, voters strike a highly elected government that rules them. Here's what it is. Politicians do their best to improve your life. In exchange for that, you vote for them. That is a voluntary arrangement. It works pretty well. For 250 years, that's how it's worked here in the United States, but suddenly not anymore. During his entire first year in office, Joe Biden did virtually nothing to improve the actual lives of actual American citizens. And he didn't because he didn't even really try. Making voters happy is not a feature of the equity agenda. Punishment is the point of the equity agenda, inflicting pain on the right people, dispensing rough justice, meting out reparations by other names. In his speeches, you can see clearly how Joe Biden feels about America. He's deeply disappointed in the country and he's annoyed with the people who lives here. Biden doesn't cajole voters. He harangues and berates them. He patronizes them and issues threats. You caused the corona pandemic. You're stupid and selfish. No 4th of July hot dogs until you obey.
If you're all like me, that might anger you a little bit. Now, I do want to say I'm making an assumption that most of you tend to be on the more left, liberal-leaning side of ideology and politics, and that might not always be true. So please forgive me, any one of you that liked what Tucker Carlson had to say. If you're like me, most of you probably are already thinking about why he's wrong and coming up with the argument to combat what he said. And it's okay to feel angry, and it's natural human instinct to feel that anger. And it's unsurprising that we'd be upset when we hear that 2/3 of Republicans currently think that Trump won the 2020 election. It almost makes you want to just throw your hands up in the air and feel disgust, because it's hard to just imagine how people could feel this way. I don't believe this anger does us any good, though. Lama Rod Owens, who's a Buddhist minister and activist, in the book Radical Dharma says, "We have learned that anger is a part of the work of social liberation, that being angry is what motivates us and drives us. To a certain extent, that is true. However, I believe that the true blessing of anger is how it can indicate an imbalance in our experience and in our world." But we have to be very clear. Anger is not about creating or building up. This is the work of loving. Maybe we believe that the right to healing is only for those who have been hurt or oppressed, and we are upset to consider the fact that one who hurts and oppresses and is in just as much need of healing. It is hard for us to consider that if the oppressor is healed, then maybe he or she would not reproduce so much violence. This is hard. Even the Bible says, "Love thy enemy," but this is no easy task. So how do we do it? I believe it is with compassion. David Richo defines compassion as love's response to pain. Going back to Lama Rod Owens, he said that love is the wish for myself and others to be happy. Our inherent compassion is both the recognition of suffering in ourselves and others and the aspiration to alleviate this suffering. We cannot empathize with Tucker Carlson, and we don't know what we don't know, and we don't know those fighting against us, and in our search for truth and justice, what those people are going through. We cannot begin to know the secrets, traumas, and life experiences that make them feel the way that they do. But we can acknowledge that they have had these life experiences and have compassion for the pains that they are all feeling, that we're all feeling. Aspire to alleviate pain and suffering through love and compassion for all we come in contact with. That is what we can do. So when we see someone like Tucker Carlson or others saying things that might make our blood boil, I encourage you to take a deep breath, do a little woo-saw, maybe try to meditate like we had just done previously, and don't let that anger consume you. Acknowledge that they have inherent worth, the freedom to their beliefs, and that they surely have experienced pains and sufferings that led them to those beliefs. Now, compassion and love does not mean that we give up the fight. We must still fight for truth and justice. We fight for peace. We fight for equity and equality, and we fight for our world. But the fight need not be on the individual. We should not attack the individuals who fight against us. The fight comes in policy, supporting policies that align with our values, policies that will make the world a better place. We fight for ideas, we fight for what we're passionate about, but at the same time, we can also have compassion and love for those who fight against us. If I wouldn't have had people close to me demonstrate active love and support when I was at my worst, I would not be the loving person that I am today. Now I work a job that I love. I'm helping people achieve their financial dreams. I'm on the board of directors for Habitat for Humanity. I have an amazing wife and 2 fur babies, and I'm a loving uncle, brother, and son. I'm still by no means perfect, and I'm still on a journey to self-discovery, and I still make mistakes, and I still do things I'm not proud of, but I'm certainly on that path. My mistakes and traumas may have had a hand in shaping the man that I am today, but they do not define me as on their own. Just as a trumper's past cannot encompass all that they are. Mara O'Halloran, in the book Pure Heart, Enlightened Mind, that I read in jail, said, "Suddenly I realized we must take care of things simply because they exist." Let's all take a second to truly acknowledge the inherent worth of all humans. Let's acknowledge their pain bodies, however they may show up.